Arriba, guerreros, y bienvenidos a otro episodio de Hablando Crypto aquí en 3T Español en una edición especial, un viernes por la tarde, porque hoy tenemos al CEO de 3T Warrior Academy, tenemos al coach JV con nosotros y también como cada semana tenemos a Mario, el Node Defender. Buenas tardes, mi gente, mis hermanos, los quiero mucho. ¿Cómo se encuentran? How are you guys? What's up, Mario?
Hey, ¿cómo están todos? Good afternoon, everybody. Espero que todos se encuentren bien. Estoy muy bien, José. Gracias por preguntar. Muy contento por estar aquí en un viernes muy bonito en el estado de Florida y muy contento por estar aquí con Coach JV por la primera vez en vivo en español.
Eso es así, Coach JV. Welcome back to 3T Español. As always, it's a pleasure to have you on. It's an honor to have you on. Have you been since we last had you on?
Oh man, I've been great. I feel fantastic. I wish I could speak Spanish, man. I need to learn. That sounds so cool, man. I wish I could understand what you guys are saying too. But it's been absolutely amazing. Life is really good. I mean, there's nothing like building business with your best friends and enjoying life, and going through all these ups and downs, man. Which is one of my favorite parts, is transmuting this darkness back into light. So things have been very, very good. So.
Yeah, I'm excited about the topics we're going to jump into today. Mi gente, recuérdense que hoy vamos a estar hablando de las noticias, vamos a estar hablando en inglés y en español, vamos a estar cambiando mucho de idioma para atrás y para adelante, pero recuerden de darle like al programa de hoy, comparte el show con sus amigos, con su grupo de WhatsApp, de texto, para difundir esta información a tanta gente que sea posible. Síguenos en todas las redes sociales, en 3T Español, en Twitter, en YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, y únanse a la Academia de Guerreros para que tengan un mejor conocimiento de todo lo que está sucediendo alrededor de las finanzas y el sistema financiero. 3twarrior.com, lo tenemos, el enlace está en la descripción. So, Coach, let's start off by talking about a couple of things, man. There's a lot of stuff happening in the current events when it comes to the economy, when it comes to crypto, and when it comes to just the financial system in general. And what we've talked about several times here on the show and here on 3T Español is about the transition from the old industrial revolutionary economic system to now to the digital technological one that we're facing, right? And one interesting article that I found today was the new threat that the U.S. economy is facing. And we've been talking about the inflation narrative for a few years now, where everybody's feeling it. You've seen these TikTok videos of people, showing their receipts from 2019, paying $75 for 30 items of groceries, to 2024 paying $165 for those same 30 items. So it's getting out of hand. Y nosotros estamos viendo este cambio de lo que vimos viejo a lo nuevo. We're seeing that change from the old to the new, and we're seeing it now in the jobs, right? We just recently added 206,000 jobs in the most recent job report, not the most excellent jobs report. But one of the interesting things that I found in this article, JV, was that, again, the new threat is not inflation, it's unemployment. So what we're starting to see now is, the Fed may see that the inflation is cooling, but now it's starting to affect the job market. So we're starting to see that transition in real time. What are your thoughts on this transition that we're seeing in the jobs?
Yeah, unfortunately, the predictions that we all made in 2023 are coming true. When we started talking about the job markets and everybody's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with the job markets in the news, right? When it hits the news, it's too late. They kept telling us that the job markets are favorable. Biden's running on this economy, that the job markets are better than they've ever been. It's a post-pandemic job market. But now we're finally seeing the normalization of that. And that's why we're starting to see it, because there's an inverse effect. So when you raise interest rates and try to cool inflation, well, that ruins the middle class, that people have to lose their jobs. Because when you raise interest rates on businesses that are trying to survive, I mean, our company's alone, I mean, it's 19% more, basically. That's what the inflation has been. So one thing I want to share with you that you brought up too, the 206,000 jobs, 70,000 of those were governmental jobs. There was 40,000 the last report. 70,000 were governmental jobs. They're supposed to be shrinking the balance sheet, and they added 70,000 governmental jobs. So that means, hey, the government's hiring, but I don't see the same effect around me in regards to Another thing to look at too, it was a 32-hour work week. So people aren't getting the full 40 hours. So you have a 32-hour work week. 70,000 of the jobs were governmental jobs. They probably did that to pad the numbers, to be honest with you. Now, what everybody needs to pay attention to, now we're heading into what a normal post-pandemic economy should look like after the big surge, after everybody's coming back. Now you're going to see what it's really like. So if we keep seeing the unemployment go up and inflation coming down, that means people are going to lose their jobs. There's just an inverse effect to it. And that's why, I mean, they tricked us, right? They said they're going to lower interest rates 3 times, but they didn't. And now that's why I just did a video on this morning about September. They're going to lower that. But yeah, what you're talking about, that article, the new job threat, it's a real threat. The good news about this is if you catch it early, we have to grow our way out of the economy. And I feel all of us, probably people watching this as well, is you're probably invested in things that are going to help us grow our way out of this, which is going to be the new Vanderbilts, Bilderbergs, Rothschilds, the new 1%. So that's pretty exciting.
Definitivamente. Y Mario, cuando estamos viendo esta noticia, y nosotros lo hemos hablado constantemente, de que estamos viendo el cambio. O sea, cuando tú entras en el banco, ¿ok? Ya tú no estás viendo los bank tellers, todo es automático, ¿verdad? Igual que si tú vas para un fast food chain como McDonald's o como Wendy's, también estás viendo lo mismo, estás viendo robótica o cosas más automatizadas, ¿verdad? Y eso es lo que estamos viendo aquí, pero lo que quería señalar de este artículo, Mario, era lo que había dicho una señora que es una economista senior para KPMG. Y lo que señaló que dice que la tasa de desempleo está cerca de activar la regla SAM, que señala que ha comenzado una recesión cuando el promedio móvil de 3 meses de la tasa de desempleo aumenta 0.5 puntos porcentuales por encima del promedio de 3 meses. Básicamente lo que está diciendo es que la inflación ya no es una preocupación predominante. Ahora hay que preocuparnos por el mercado del trabajo. Y ahora con todo este movimiento nuevo que estamos viendo con inteligencia artificial y con las máquinas, eso podría estar aportando al desempleo. Y no se está viendo así en la narrativa de las noticias, pero no necesita ser un científico o un investigador para conectar los puntos. So when you're seeing what this economist is saying, that inflation is no longer the worry, now it's the job markets that we have to worry about. And you have AI making all these quick advances, and we're seeing how quickly a lot of these jobs are phasing out. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to connect the dots that we're seeing this happening in real time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think it's a result of the inflation, and at the same time, I think that AI has come at a very precise moment. And the way that I feel is that a lot of businesses, especially small to medium businesses, over the last few years, they've had to adapt, and they had to adapt quick because inflation has caused cost of everything to go up. I think that specifically small businesses, and with a lot of states also raising the minimum salaries, a lot of businesses that used to have 10 employees can now only, in theory, to be able to afford 6 to 7 employees. And that's if they're continuing with the same revenue. So a lot of processes within the business had to be automated, had to be improved in order to kind of replace those employees. So that's where AI comes in. And obviously we're going to see a transition from a lot of what used to be done by people now be done by an automation, which obviously AI is going to take a lot of that role. But I do believe that what we're seeing today is a product or kind of a result, or it was helped by the inflation, right? Inflation kind of helped. It made people transition, and we had anybody who wanted to survive, businesses that wanted to survive, they had to go through this transformation of finding new ways of doing business and cheaper ways, and maybe replace 1 or 2 employees if it's a small business, because that would be the only way for them to stay alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, y definitivamente eso es algo que si tú eres empresario, you know, if you're a business person, your number one priority, and we can all speak to this, is to create profit for us. We're not in the business for being free, right? We want to be able to keep money in our pockets, right? And in order for us to do that, employees are the biggest overhead. Mm-hmm. And what we're seeing is that if these robots or automated system can do a human's job in a quarter of the time, and I can keep more of my profits, that's obviously going to affect how the job market's going to look in the next 5 to 10 years. Wouldn't you agree, Coach?
Oh yeah, it's like, think about it. Rosie Rios said you need a shock to the system to change consumer behavior. So they needed to shock the job markets. They need to shock the financial markets, right? So, I mean, you have to think about this for just a moment. Like sometimes we'll put our little tinfoil hat on for just a second. So if from up until 2000, for 223 years before that, we ran up the debt to 8 trillion. From 2020 to 2023, we ran it up 23 trillion. So in less than 3 years, we ran it up 23 trillion. In 223 years, we ran it up 8 trillion. So there's got to be some smart people at the top of the house that are like, either just turn it on full blast because we know we're switching the system, right? There had to be some sort of factor with that. The whole world shuts down. It stops global trade. It stops supply chain. And then all of a sudden, there's all these innovative technologies, supply chain, money moving at the speed of light, an even playing field, distributed ledger technology, AI. And then you're like, well, wait a minute. Let's destroy the job markets. Let's print a bunch of money. Let's inflate the system, because they know when there's inflation, you have to raise interest rates. If you raise interest rates on the people, they can't afford their stuff anymore. And so the middle class gets wiped out, leverage towards technology, and you move into a new economy. Jerome Powell said in 2021, he said, I'm worried about the middle class coming back to a brand new economy leveraged towards technology. That's his words. That's ahead of the Fed. And so it's like the great news about this, there's nothing good about people losing their jobs. I'm not saying that. The great news about this, if you're paying attention, you want to invest in how they're going to grow us out of this economy. Now, growing out of the economy doesn't mean that the middle class is going to get jobs. It means they're going to grow themselves in the economy. So like, you have to be part of that growth. The key factors is to invest in that growth, whether it's blockchain technology, AI, anything, any of those things, the technologies that are going to do this. But think about it. Like, I think you might have said this in Spanish, but there's autonomous restaurants now, the fast food restaurants. You brought up banking branches. When I was in banking in 2012, going into 2013, Jeremy, our CFO, was my tutor through banking school. We were told in between our two years, they said that we're switching to fintech, financial technology. And in the simulation model, this is in 2012, we started reducing bank branches, putting ATMs, online banking, better customer service, faster mobile payments, things like that. And our bank started to go up in the sim model. So they were already transitioning us in 2012 for this new system. And maybe that's why we had a global pandemic. Who knows? Where it was like, bam, we're going to shut down the whole system, and that will change consumer behaviors, right? And then what happens is when, like you said, the middle class, when the middle class gets wiped out, leveraged, moved down to the working poor, then they're going to need assistance. Well, how do you get money to people quickly? Fed now services, central bank digital currency, right? It seems, I mean, I don't know, that's tinfoil hattish, but it just seems problem, reaction, solution. Create a problem, create a reaction to people. This person that created the problem comes up with the solution. It's Achillean dialect. It happens over and over again. And it's like, man, it's just, to me, I knew this economy was coming, because it's just falling ways of energy in macroeconomics, micro macroeconomics. Like when we got the jobs report this week, I'm like, I guarantee the low rates in September. Now that's great being an investor. So if you're a middle class right now, you have to learn financial literacy. That is your number one goal, is to listen to these guys on a daily basis, to understand what are these new innovative technologies we're investing in. You got to get out of that middle class mindset, and you have to start thinking cash flow quadrant. Like, how are you going to get on the other side of that cash flow quadrant? But yeah, so I mean, it's just here. We're not going to stop this. We're not going to stop this wave of energy. So for everybody, they should write down the word infrastructure and go look and research on the World Economic Forum what infrastructure changes mean. We're talking digital, human capital. Everything is going to change, the whole infrastructure.
Sumamente importante que la gente haga su propia investigación acerca de las infraestructuras de la nueva economía, ¿verdad? Porque tú lo dijiste, la infraestructura es lo que va a controlar cómo se mueve el dinero, cosas como XRP, cosas como Quant de conectividad, cosas como HBAR, Algorand, todas estas cosas que o conectan o que van a ser los rieles de pagos para esta nueva economía son las cosas que debería estar investigando. Those are the things you should be researching, are the rails, the infrastructures, the connectivity of how the new financial system is going to be set up. And this actually kind of gives me a good segue to move into the next one, because as we're talking about how things are connected, Coinbase right now, which is the leader in the crypto space, right now is kind of in the middle of this legal battle. And recently they subpoenaed good old Gary Gensler's emails, going all the way back to MIT. I guess they're trying to fight fire with fire, and I get it, right? Again, this is all wrestling. This is all theatrical. They're all doing this on purpose for us to elicit a reaction out of us, right? But looking at it from the other side, we have this story that came out today that the judge denied the subpoena, and they were like, oh, I can't really find enough reason to allow you to look through these emails. Find a better reason and come back to me for it. Immediately, I'm just saying, is like, okay, this lady is protecting Gary until she can't protect him anymore. But that's the gist that I got out of it. Mario, did you have a chance to take a look at this story? What are your thoughts on it? And then I'll shoot it over to you, JB.
No, do you want me to do it in Spanish or English?
En
Sorry.
inglés, en español, however you feel, bro. Today is a bilingual freestyle Friday.
Cool. Okay. So I'm going to do both. Entonces, no he escuchado la noticia porque hoy he estado bastante ocupado, pero lo que estoy mirando es que ayer salió una noticia de que la acusación contra PaxG de que posiblemente su stablecoin sería un valor, un security. Eso también fue dropped o sea, el caso ya fue dropped por la SEC. Si ahora tenemos la SEC también, u otro caso contra la SEC, que es el caso de Coinbase, que también parece que lo han terminado. Entonces parece que estoy mirando. I'm noticing a trend, basically. I'm noticing a trend that yesterday they dropped the case against PaxG, alleging securities on their stablecoin. Today they're saying that, hey, we can't find substantial evidence, so we're not going to come after, or now let's not go after Coinbase anymore. I think that it's all coming to fruition that it was all just part of theatrics. It was all just to create a stall tactic, to kind of paint a picture that crypto was bad. And now they all of a sudden can't find any reasons. They can't find any evidence. The Ripple case is potentially coming to a close here. All these different cases that have been brought out by the SEC against all the different exchanges that have continuously tried to work with them, they make no sense from an outsider perspective. We've commented on this for over a year now, how it doesn't make any sense. They've tried to comply. They've tried to work with the SEC. The SEC never helped them, which is what they're supposed to do, and now they're suing them, and it just doesn't make any sense. And I think that the trend that I'm seeing is that these cases are just going to start being dropped. And potentially as we get to the latter part of the year, if there is going to be a government change, and especially if Gary Gensler is going to be replaced, then I think that will just fall into play as somebody new coming in, and all of a sudden the agency or the SEC just becomes more crypto friendly, or at least more willing to work and with the framework that comes out from regulation. It's starting to feel that way, and so we'll see what time give us.
What I find interesting about this, JV, is the argument here is that Gary has made certain statements about crypto outside of the SEC, right?
Yeah.
And basically what Coinbase and what the crypto industry wants to hold Gary accountable are on those statements that he said outside of the SEC, not the ones that he said under or being as president of the SEC, right? So that's the argument that the judge is like, well, he said that before he was in this position, therefore we can't really make it valid unless he acknowledges it under this position. Then we can make it valid, which is absolutely wild for me. But should a person of that much power, should their statements, even though they're factual statements, but they're outside of when he was in power, should those statements still be applied?
I think it should be part of the narrative. I mean, people's reasoning can change, but I think it's, for Gary Gensler, it's been gross negligence. I mean, he's sitting in front of Congress, and they're asking him direct questions. He's like, "Hey, in private, you told me this. I'm going to ask you the question again." And then he gives this like vague answer. He won't answer the question. He goes, "Okay, so you know that Bitcoin is a commodity. Can you share with me whether Ethereum is a security?" And then he goes back to the Howie rule, and he just keeps dancing around these questions now that he is the head of the SEC. But I'm sure outside of it, he said, well, I think there's court documents they found where he said that Ethereum was a security. So they deemed Ethereum not a security, right? And now when they, so this is what I think is happening. Now they're going after Gary, right, for those emails. And I think what happened is they denied Coinbase, right? So we're in July right now. We got the, Mario brought this up. We're getting really close to the Ripple case ending, right? So we get to September, say the Ripple case ends, right? I think we're starting to see the Democrats tip now towards the left, the extreme left tip towards crypto. They're like, they're kind of going against this Biden veto thing. And that's the main conversation. I just watched the Jerome Powell thing. They talked about infrastructure changes. Everything is about cryptocurrency, innovation. Trump is going to be at the Bitcoin conference right now. It's a Bitcoin election and all this stuff. And so the tides are shifting. And I think what's happening now is it's coming to a head, and we're going to start to see some movement into regulation. So first they resist it, then they sue it, then they regulate it, then they join it. So now we're heading into the bumpy road of clarity, regulation, and that's where it's going to get really bumpy, because it's going to be like, that's why I stick with the companies like Ripple, coins like XRP, XLM, the ones that I think are going to survive regulation. Because think about this, now when regulation comes in, it gives them enforcement to go in and go after all these cryptos. Because now it's like, hey, we're bought into crypto now. Now you're going to follow our rules. And so we're going to see who's going to survive this ecosystem now. So the whole Gary Gensler thing, I mean, it's a dog and pony show, man. You guys know that. It's like I don't think they're going to reveal his emails. I don't think they're going to go into, because they know what they're going to find. They know exactly what they're going to find. It's just going to make, I mean, we got the thing going on with Biden right now. I mean, it's like, holy moly. I mean, I think the part that for America is like, we have to start to save face. We have to start to fix our image. And if they went after Gary Gensler's emails, I think it would look really unfavorable for America once again. So I think they're probably like, hey, let's just hold off on that. Let's just go based on what he says under the chair of the SEC, and then we'll move forward. So when the Ripple case ends, we're going to have the Ripple case end. Interest rates may go down in September. We could see a really nice move in September. So, but again, middle class, please, guys, start to understand. I keep telling people, financial literacy, understand what money is. It's all debt now. Like, it's all debt now. The G7 is now over 100% debt to income ratio. So our group is now over 100% debt to income ratio. Now, the only way you can fix this is to monetize the debt. That's it. Or grow your way out of it. So they have to monetize the debt. They have to print more money, monetize more debt, or we have to grow with innovation. And we're talking about that innovation. So like, if people can really let that sink in and get out of this pump and hype and all this stuff and just be like, okay, what I'm investing in is the new infrastructural change of our financial system, and stay in, hold the line. If it goes up, exit, profit. Right? Don't get emotional about this. I keep, it's people, you can tell people getting really, JV, you said this month, JV, you said it's like, it just let it go. Like, stop focusing. Everybody thinks like, oh, next month it's going to pump. This month it's going to pump. It's like, who cares when it pumps? Hold as long as you can. When it goes up, exit. So I'm really excited about these times. I'm like, and the fact that they denied his emails, I'm not shocked that they did that, because I'm sure it would not be pretty what they find, man.
Nosotros lo decimos aquí que en cada episodio, cada contenido que tengamos, que la educación financiera es sumamente importante. Entender el sistema financiero, cómo trabaja el dinero en el sistema y cómo los millonarios crecen su riqueza y su patrimonio. We say it all the time on the show that financial literacy, financial education is extremely important. Learn how money works, learn how the financial system works, learn how the millionaires and billionaires think and work, right? And it's so important. And I've made that a mission in my life to help, and which is why I started 3T Español and became an insurance agent to help people protect everything, right? And because that's how the millionaires work. So, Mario, I know you need to get out of here. Did you need to add something on there, Mario?
Quería añadir algo muy importante.
Sí,
es que
sí, dale.
Coach JV was speaking about, regulation and how we're coming to a point of clarity. But I do believe that, I do want to preface that I strongly believe that this is going to be clarity by regulation. So yeah, what I mean is it's going to get a little ugly. Like a lot of projects, the pumps and dumps and potentially a lot of the memes, that's going to cease to exist. But the good thing is that all these solid projects, and some of them, the names you mentioned, HBAR, all the projects that you hear their CEOs talk about how they want to be compliance first, right? Brad Garlinghouse talks about it all the time, how they want to be compliance first. These projects that are boring right now, that everybody's frustrated that the price is not really caught up in comparison to Solana and a lot of the meme coins, I believe that they're going to do extremely well, because those are the projects that are looking to stay, right? They're building solid, they're building a solid foundation and solid technology. And at the same time, they're working with governments, and they're going to work with regulation. So it's going to be a clarity by regulation. But like Coach JV said, I'm also very excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But Mario, I know you need to head out. I know you have a prior engagement. I really appreciate you. Gracias por estar con nosotros esta tarde. But we're gonna finish out here with Coach JV, and we're gonna talk about Merlin. So thank you, Bobby. Appreciate you.
Love
Gracias
you,
a todos. Que tengan un buen día. Thank you, everybody. See you, Coach. See you, Jose.
Love you. See you next week.
Love you. Bye.
Love you.
All right. There he is. All right, there we go. All right, Coach. So I want to shift things over now. Quería hablar de Merlin Crypto. Congratulations. Merlin Crypto, they had a review on you today on the website, which is a website that gets millions of visits every single day. So congratulations. How are things going with Merlin Crypto? And by the way, para la gente que no sepa, Merlin Crypto es uno de nuestros auspiciadores aquí. Puedes descargar Merlin Crypto absolutamente gratis por 30 días. Es la forma más inteligente de rastrear su cripto. Puedes agarrar su cuenta absolutamente gratuita por 30 días. El enlace lo tenemos en la descripción. You can grab your free trial, 30 days. The link is in the description. So for those people that don't know about Merlin, what is Merlin Crypto, and how can we use Merlin Crypto in the upcoming bull run?
Yeah, so we'll start with the origin story. So the origin story was we were really working hard to help free our families during this bull run. Like, we didn't want to we saw so many people just getting rich in crypto, losing all their money, and getting rich in crypto. And so, we always say they're not profits until they're realized. And so what we started with was a spreadsheet. And so we created these spreadsheets that we have inside of our academy, where it's like this. I had it on a actual Excel sheet, and I would carry it with me. And at that time, I was inside the business. I was trading, I'm training people nine times a day, and the market was pumping. And so I'd be looking at my phone. I felt really bad, man, because I'm like looking at my phone during training sessions. I'm like, oh shit, the market's pumping. And then I'd go in the bathroom, pull out my spreadsheet, and then I'd go exercise the trade that I needed to do. And it was like we were just trying to keep track of, number one, our exit strategy. We wanted to exit on the way up, so we created what's called a ladder strategy on the way up. We also wanted to know our tax implications. Like, well, how much am I going to be taxed? How much do I need to put away? Is it long-term, short-term capital gains? And then all of our crypto you had to look at all these different things, like Coinbase, crypto.com. And so we solved all three of those problems. Number one is it's an interface. We don't hold your keys or combos. It's an interface so you can see all your cryptos in one spot. So you can see your portfolio allocation, which is extremely important. You can see your daily gains and losses. We know that a lot of them didn't have their daily gains and losses. Number three is you can set up an exit plan. So if you're sitting there, you don't have to stare. We actually have allowed people to step away, be with their family, and wait for an alert. You don't have to sit there and stare at the market all the time. So when, I'll use Shiba's example, right? So I only hold two meme coins from back in the days. Shiba went parabolic in the beginning of this year, and ding, oh, JV, you're 10% away from your exit target. Smoothly went over there. It hit the exit target. I exited out of my first position at 10%. So it's a really amazing way to track your crypto, to be able to exit property, but also look at your tax implications as well as you start to exit. So the key is really demystifying the crypto space, where you're just, everything's over there and bringing it all into one place. And it's amazing. It's been awesome. I mean, our customer base is growing really, really fast. It was awesome to see that article today. And it's just been a wonderful thing. And that's about people coming together with an idea, innovating, and bringing it to the people. So absolutely love Merlin. Smartest way to track your crypto. And yeah, we'd love for people to check it out, man.
Congratulations. Y vamos a tener, como le dije, el enlace en la descripción para que ustedes puedan abrir su propia cuenta, 30 días gratis. No se queden atrás durante esta corrida alcista. Luego en el año, cojan sus ganancias, hagan un plan de salida, usen Merlin Crypto, 30 días gratis. Tenemos el enlace en la descripción. So, Coach, you recently had a little trip. You were over in Peru, spent some time over there. We're going to switch the conversation over to a little bit more spiritual. How was your most recent trip? How are things with you spiritually? What's new in the Coach JV universe?
Man, a lot. That's there's such a beautiful journey to go down there. But the beauty in it is the comeback, right? Is the downloads that you get. And it's just has not stopped, man. Even last night, I had like a huge download. And so I go to Peru either once or twice a year. It seems to be twice a year lately. And I went a little bit earlier this year. And this journey was probably one of my toughest journeys I've had. Actually, halfway through, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to go back, to be honest with you. And of course, after I was done with my journey, of course, I'm going to go back. But it was a really interesting journey. So I'll talk about the key factors that I learned. So the first part of my ceremony, I really learned that I'm the issue, man. It's me. Like it's me. I'm causing all the issues. Everything that I'm complaining about, I created as an adult outside of adult care. That was day one. It was like, hey, you're the issue. Let's look deep inside your soul. What are the things that you can heal, right? And then ceremony 2 was this beautiful ceremony, man. It was like it was like Bruce Lee. I emptied the cup. There was like no thoughts. It was just like I was present. I was stacking rocks. I created this rock garden. And it was so amazing Jesus says, take no thought, Christ, Yeshua, right? So it was a day of no thoughts, dude. I mean, whole day was just emptiness of mind. And I was like, wow. Well, of course, we have inversion. We always have the opposite. And day 3 was absolute disaster. It was like the complete opposite of the emptiness of mind. I could not control my thoughts. And so I felt the full inversion of that. And the essence of that day, it was probably one of the toughest days I've had in a experience. But the beauty in it was I was able to, for once in my life, sit in it versus try to fix it. There was nothing to fix. I realized it's just part of the process. It was what I was feeling within that moment. And a lot of the things I was creating, 99.9% of the stuff that I was creating within my mind was an illusion. It was what I was creating. There was no problem. There was nothing wrong. So to wrap that all up, what I realized is that our soul comes into this physical body to experience the 5 senses. We are greater than the beast. We get a conscious mind. And the beauty in that is that the things we come to experience, that we have to have duality. We have to have hard times. We have to have darkness. The things that we're going through within our world, they have to happen. Our key as a human being having a physical experience is to take that experience and expand our hue of light by transmuting that darkness into light. So when things are presented to you, if things aren't going like, you know, it's been rough for all businesses the last 24 months with this 19% accumulated inflation, right? That's what's being presented to us. So you can bitch and complain about it, or you can transmute that into innovation, effectiveness, right? There's all these things you can do. So the essence of this trip was really a beautiful thing to say to myself, JB, stop chasing stuff and become something. Stop inviting people into your dream that you're not part of their plan. And what I mean by that is stop trying to go out and say, oh, I come do this with me. Come do this with me. Become the essence, the true essence of what you want to become, and allow the people to be attracted to that, right? It's not that you don't thrive, not that don't go out there and try to get things done, but you do it with an essence of truth. And with an essence of truth, you'll attract the people who, when you have a dream, it's part of their plan, right? And that's when you start to see symbiotic relationships come together in business. So it was an awesome trip. It was a tough journey, though. It was one of the toughest ones I've ever had. And so it was almost halfway through. I was like, I don't know if I'll ever go back. But as soon as I got back, of course, I'm going to go back. So, and it's just a lot of downloads, man. That was one of my downloads last night. It was like, you know, in your dream, don't invite people into your dream that you've never been part of their plan. Right? Don't force someone into your dream. Don't be like, oh, I promise it'll work. It's like you have to really become it, feel it, embody it, and pull life to you. Allow those people to manifest into your life, right? Instead of trying to, like the world has taught us to scratch, crawl, you know, step on top of people and do all this stuff. No, you have to become, feel, connect, and attract. It's just a very different mindset that I have when I came back. And it's like, it's really helped me relax quite a bit, man.
Now, are you changing up any like routines when it comes to meditation, workout, anything different to help you with your downloads and to help you with this different experience that you had at Peru?
No, everything's pretty much the same. I think the only thing that I've changed in the recent past, which has been in about 6 months, is my routine in the morning, actually. So that's something that did change, but that was before Peru. It was, I hired a personal trainer. And so it's probably one of the greatest things I've ever done. I've never had I've always been training myself. I hired a personal trainer, and it allowed me to change up my morning routine. So I don't meet with my trainer till 4:30 in the morning. So I used to be at the gym by like 3:30 in the morning, right? So I'd have, you know, there's a 24-hour gym, and I would go. And so I take the 3:30 to 4:30 to immediately go into my my walk with Christ, studying whatever it is, the Emerald Tablets, the Bible, all these different things. And you know, and so my first hour of the day is now spent diving into the Word. And that's been a remarkable change for my life, because, you know, they say your brain, I think it's theta to beta, I don't remember, but the first 15 minutes of your day and the last 15 minutes of your day are by far the most important. So I'm waking up, praying, going right into that education, and it seems to be really making a difference in my life, not only for my articulation of what I'm experiencing, but also to take those learnings and apply them immediately into my life that day. So that's something that's changed pretty heavily. So my routine has always been, man, my routine's been the same for like, it's been like 7 years. I've been doing the same exact routine, waking up at the same time. But the big thing that shifted was my spiritual work, because it was kind of like intermittently throughout the day, right? And I noticed that I would fall out of the pattern really quickly of my spiritual walk, because not my walk, but like my study, because you get really busy with work and stuff. So right when I get into my at 5:30, that's when my 3T and all the businesses kick off from 5:30 to 2. There's really not a lot of time to do the spiritual work. And then, you know, I'm with my kids from 2 on, and so there's not a lot of time. So really carving out that specific time for my walk with Christ, or whether it's just praying. I mean, it doesn't even have to be in the Word. It's just like sitting there praying, meditating. So that's the biggest change that I've made, and it's really helped me build my relationship with God. So
I think that's one of the most important things for me as well. Para mí ha sido, si yo no medito o si yo no escribo, mi día no está igual. If I don't meditate, I meditate twice a day. So my first meditation in the morning, and I usually wake up at 5 or 5:30 East time, and I spend a good hour either writing or praying, right? So that's my first thing. I have my coffee and I'm writing. That's my morning routine. That's how I get my thoughts together for the day.
Yep.
Then after I get and I like to divide my day in 4-hour blocks. This is something that I learned from Ed Milet, where he can get a day's worth of work in 4 hours. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to try that. And since I'm running 3 businesses, then I'll allocate 4 hours for this business, 4 hours for that business, 4 hours for that other business. And it works. It works out for me. It's not for everyone, but it works out for me. So I've definitely come into a routine where if I don't do those things for me, my day is completely off. Like I'll have an attitude problem. I'll be angry. I'll be frustrated or annoyed. But if I do those things, it really sets the tone for me to accept energy, give out energy, right? Because I think that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
And connecting with yourself. It's the micro to the macro, not the macro to the micro, right?
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like this whole causality thing. Like, you know, kids have it all figured out, man. They're micro to macro, right? Kids aren't worried about, they're the greatest teachers ever. That's why Jesus says, get in the kingdom of heaven and be like these lowly children. Like children, it's macro to micro. It's how I feel is how this environment is going to be. If a child is in a restaurant and they want to have a fit, they don't give a shit if they're in a restaurant. They have a fit, right? Us as adults, we're like, if you're in an argument with your spouse, partner, or loved one, you look at the outside. You're like, okay, the macro, I'm in a restaurant, probably not the right environment. So you have to control your emotions. But imagine if we acted like children. It's like, I feel like shit. I'm going to act out right now, and I'm going to let that affect my outer reality. That's what they mean by be like a child, because children are reacting from like a creative consciousness. Like, this is what I want for my life right now as a child. Like children, like, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to get. You know what I'm saying? And if we acted like that, it's like, hey, I want to build $1 billion ecosystem. It's not, I want to be $1 billion ecosystem. I already am $1 billion ecosystem. And then you operate from that childlike frequency. And so everybody's like, well, when the world does this, when Trump comes back, when crypto goes parabolic, what do you mean when? You're always going to be waiting. There's always going to be a when this happens. I'm going to go to school when I have enough money. I'm going to have a child when we're financially ready. I'm going to go on that trip when. It's like, just go on the trip, man. You know, I brought this up to somebody. They were like, well, how did you, I finally was able to physically explain this in a podcast. It was like, I remember when I was sitting on my parents' couch broke 4 years ago. I wanted the lifestyle that I'm living now, where I could just go spontaneously do stuff with my kids. Like tonight, me and my daughter are going to like a UFC type fight. It's the feeder for the UFC. We're gonna go watch a fight, go out to a nice dinner. Like, that was spontaneous. I'm like, hey, sweetie, you want to do this? We're gonna go to it. That was the lifestyle that I wanted, where I could just say spontaneously go on trips and do stuff like that. Well, back when I was living on my parents' couch, I couldn't, in that moment, I didn't have the income. I don't want to say I couldn't afford it because that's paradigm. We didn't have the income within that moment to do those spontaneous, but we would go on a hike and we'd watch the sunset. We could still do things that were embodiment of spontaneity and also experiential. The experiences just change because there's different income to be able to pay for more experiences. So I was still experiencing that lifestyle, but it was like we would go camping or we go to a cabin or we go do these things, right? Maybe we're not going to a UFC fight and a nice dinner, but we're still having those experiences. And it's not even the level of experience change. It still was the beauty and essence of being with my children and experience. It's just we get to experience different things at a higher level, if that makes any sense. But
Absolutely.
my point is you got to stop waiting for it. You got to live it now. You have to start experiencing it now. Maybe you're a couple and you're like, oh, we're broke. And you're watching, everybody's highlight reels, which 99% is bullshit on social media. Everybody's looking like they have the greatest life ever. Everybody's rich on social, right? And so when you're looking at that, but it's like, hey, maybe you're not doing too well financially right now. Go have a picnic. Go have a picnic, man. Instead of eating at home, there's some nice weather, go to the river, go to the lake, have a picnic together, have a romantic picnic. Like that doesn't cost any money, maybe a little bit of gas money. Go on a bike ride. I think we think that we have to wait until we have the money or we have to wait until we can go on that trip. No, you can start experiencing now. And I promise you, if you start doing that, the manifestation comes a lot faster because you're operating in the field already. If you're in the field, it has to come. It's what God created. It's not that to this, it's this to this, right?
Yes.
So yeah.
And that's and I love that you said that because I meet so many people every day when because part of what I do, I also drive Lyft very part-time, so I get to meet a bunch of different people. And I can count on both hands every day on how many people are like, oh man, I wish I could start a business. I wish I could do that. I'm like, well, what's holding you back? Oh, it's so expensive. And they're like, well, listen, I started with zero money and I have 3 businesses. So there's no excuse, right? There's no excuse. So, and most people have been indoctrinated or programmed to think that way. They have to wait for something outside before I can make my move.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, you have to invert it in order for it to become a reality. Because if I would have waited all these years for something to come outside to make me start my businesses, I would have never started my businesses. I would have never gotten clients, if I would have still been in that mindset of I'm waiting for something outside to come and fix my problem when I'm the one that needs to fix my problem.
Yeah. And that's the essence of what, if we all realize that, all this war would stop, all this stuff would stop. If everybody just woke up tomorrow and said, hey, Jose, you're awesome, period, the end. I'm awesome, period, the end. Everything outside of that's an opinion. Tomorrow, I'm getting my shit together. You do what you do, you, man. I'm going to go get my shit together. And if everybody did that, all this would stop. There'd be no reason for war. But the beauty and essence of that's the human condition. That's part of being a human. That's part of the experience of being a human, is that we do have the free will to make a choice to believe it is macro or micro. So people going crazy on me about my belief system on my Refined Integrity channel. And I'm like, okay. Okay. Like this is what I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling, what I'm embodying, what I'm living. I'm not sharing you some esoteric doctrine that it's like, this is what I'm living. I'm breathing out and expressing what I'm living. So when someone comes at me, I'm like, okay. Because it's like you're living a whole different experience. I don't even know who you are, person commenting. I've never met you. I don't know how you grew up. There's zero argument, and so I think that's the essence and beauty of it, because that's the beauty of seeing humanity. And imagine if we all just looked and said, wow, Jose, you're a mirror of me and I'm a mirror of you. And I feel in my heart that's what Christ was saying. He was a mere reflection. And he was perfection. He saw perfection in all of us, because perfection is knowing that we're here to go through the things we're experiencing, to see ourselves in that experience and transmute that to the next level. That's all we're here to do. It's like, okay, so you see, you cannot stand somebody else. Well, why can't you stand that person? There's either something in them that you want or something that you need to heal in yourself. Right? Because if you're walking around angry at everybody all the time, all the day, there's something wrong. There's something in your soul that you need to heal. Right? If you're pissed off because, I cannot stand the way that person talks or the way JV says Warriors rise. It's like, why would you care? Like, but they do, and that's okay. And it's understanding, why do you care about that, right? And that's the whole, like, it's, again, people are like, Biden this, Biden that. Like, I'm not a Biden supporter. I'll just be honest. But he didn't stop me from building financial freedom. I didn't sit there and complain and wait for Trump to come back. I got my shit together under this regime, right? So imagine a world when if a new world comes in and a new president comes in, holy moly, you and I will be 10 times ahead of everybody else that was waiting for the savior. And that's what Christ was trying to tell us. He's like, psst, pick up your mat and walk, dude. I ain't coming back. I'm already here. I'm right here. He's like, I ain't coming back. I'm coming back, but not in the essence you think I'm coming back. He's like, I've always been here, man. I mean, the cross is right there. It's in you. Like, I'm here. I'm with you. And I'm literally sitting next to you, looking for myself coming out of the sky. You know, I mean, everybody's waiting for a savior. They're waiting for Trump. My great grandma is probably waiting for a savior. My grandma's waiting for the Jesus to come out of the sky. It's like, but Jesus is like, I'm here. I'm here. I'm with you. I've never forsaken you. And then he's on the cross. He's like, please forgive them, for they know not what they do. And here we are again. Christ is like, oh, please forgive them, for they know not what they do. And then God threw in the caveat, free will, baby.
Yep,
You have free will, man.
He's like, hey, do it. You know what? Just do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want. Figure it out. Yeah. He's like, go out and, live like that. My favorite thing, and I repeat this over and over again, is like, how does God, I believe God is perfect. I believe Christ is perfect. But how does God, and some people say, people argue, are Christ and God one? Is Christ and, I saw this TikTok where this, two religions were arguing. One was saying Christ is God. The other was saying, no, that's not true, because he said the Father, the separation. I'm like, so what if there's just one God? What if? Okay. And well, I think we'd all agree that God would be perfection, right? But how would God know that it's perfect? Jesus gave us a hint. Isn't the kingdom of heaven within you? He came through your soul to experience. And what if God is all of us experiencing it in the physical sense? And so if you saw God face to face, how would you act? I'd be humbled. I'd be like, oh my gosh. So when I see other human beings, I want to love them with all my heart, because I see God in them. I see Christ in them. I see Buddha in them. I see Muhammad in them. I see all these great leaders who came before us, and all the great leaders who came after us in them. It's all inside of our DNA. And it's all these human beings expressing their belief system in God. So how can I judge another human being for, you want to be Church of Latter-day Saints? Awesome, man. If that makes you feel good and you're a good human being and you got a great family, they got great family structure. Good for them. Keep going. And it's like, I just, that kind of goes back to the essence of Peru, man. I came back and I'm like, I just can't see separation in people, man. It's something I can't see. It's like, I can't see it. Now, do I get angry? Hell yeah. Do I get pissed off? Hell yeah. Do I do stupid shit? Absolutely, man. But I always come back to the fact that it's me. I'm the problem, man. I'm the problem. Like our Jeremy Mudick, our coach, says, you are the solve, you are the cure,
Mm-hmm. Coach, man, I absolutely love you. Every time I get to spend some time with you, it's I try to absorb as much wisdom from you, because you always bring that fire. So I'm so grateful that I get to spend some time with you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, me too, brother.
Bueno, mi guerrero, ya hemos terminado por el live stream de hoy. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. No se olviden de seguirnos en todas las redes sociales, 3T Español, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok y Facebook. Dale like al programa de hoy. Tenemos todos los enlaces en la descripción para que se unan a la academia y para que descarguen un mes gratuito de Merlin Crypto. So, los queremos mucho de parte de Coach JB. Soy José González y como siempre decimos en la academia, arriba, guerreros. Warriors, rise.
Let's
get out of here. Get your shit together.
Love you guys.